Good morning, students. Let us continue with the experiments regarding the finding or search of the genetic material. The next experiment in the line is Hershey and Chase experiment. The genetic material is DNA. The unequivocal proof that DNA is the genetic material came from the experiments of Alfred Hershey and Martha Chase. In 1952, they worked with the virus that infect bacteria called bacteriophages. The bacteriophages attaches to the bacteria and its genetic material, then enters the bacterial cell. The bacterial cell treats the viral genetic material as if it was its own and subsequently manufactures more viral particles. Hershey and Chase worked to discover whether it was protein or DNA from the viruses that entered the bacteria. They grew some bacteria with the viruses on the medium that contained radioactive phosphorus and some others on the medium that contained radioactive sulfur. Viruses grown in the presence of radioactive phosphorus contained radioactive DNA but not radioactive protein because DNA contains phosphorus but protein does not. Similarly, viruses grown on radioactive sulfur contained radioactive protein but not the radioactive DNA because protein contains sulfur but not the DNA. Radioactive phages were allowed to attach to E. coli bacteria. Then, as the infection proceeded, the viral coats were removed from the bacteria by agitating them in a blender. The virus particles were separated from the bacteria by spinning them in a centrifuge. Bacteria which was infected with virus that had radioactive DNA were radioactive, indicating that the DNA was the material that passed from the virus to the bacteria. Bacteria that were infected with the virus that had radioactive protein were not found radioactive. This indicates that protein didn't enter the bacteria from the viruses. DNA is therefore genetic material that is passed from the virus to the bacteria. Here we can see the two cases in which one radioactive protein capsule is there and another radioactive DNA is there. When they were infected to the bacteria, only the second case the bacteria showed the radioactivity, but not in the first case. That shows that the DNA enters the virus. Let us see the experiment again to understand it more clearly. Hershey and Chase experiment. A bacteriophage infects a bacterium and injects its genetic material to the bacterium. Hershey and Chase, with the help of bacteriophages, performed experiment to demonstrate that DNA is the genetic material but not the protein. They grew some viruses in the medium that contained radioactive phosphorus. They also grew some bacteria in the medium that contained radioactive sulfur. In the medium where the radioactive phosphorus was taken, the DNA became radioactive, and in the medium in which radioactive sulfur was taken, the protein coat of the virus becomes radioactive. Now it was the time to examine whether protein goes to the bacteria or DNA. They infected the bacterial cells with these phages and seen that the radioactivity was observed only in the bacteria where the radioactive phosphorus labeled bacteriophages were infected, but not in the radioactive sulfur labeled bacteriophages infection. This showed that the DNA is the genetic material that passes from one generation to the another. For the testing of the radioactivity, the bacterial cells were centrifuged and seen the radioactivity in the upper coat or in the genetic material of the virus. In some viruses, RNA is the genetic material. For example, tobacco mosaic virus, QB bacteriophage. Answer to some of the questions such as why DNA is the prominent genetic material whereas RNA performs dynamic functions of messenger and adapter has to be found from the differences between the chemical structures of these two nucleic acid molecules. We have already studied the differences between the DNA and RNA. A molecule that can act as a genetic material must fulfill the following criteria. First, it should be able to generate its replica, that is, duplicate. The process is replication. It should be stable chemically and structurally. It should provide the scope for slow changes, that is, mutation, that are required for evolution. It should be able to express itself in the form of Mendelian characters. If one examines each requirement one by one, because of the rule of base pairing and complementarity, both the nucleic acid have the ability to direct their duplications. The other molecule in the living system, such as protein, fails to fulfill the first criteria itself. The second criteria that it should be stable enough not to change with the different stages of life cycle, age, or with change in physiology of the organism. So stability as one of the properties of genetic material was very evident in the Griffith's transforming principle itself, that heat which killed the bacteria at least didn't destroy some of the properties of genetic material. This now can easily be explained that in the light of DNA, that the two strands being complementary if separated by heating come together when appropriate conditions are provided. Further, 2' OH group present at every nucleotide in RNA is a reactive group and makes RNA labile and easily degradable. RNA is also now known to be catalytic because it is reactive. Therefore, DNA is the preferred genetic material because it is less reactive and structurally it is more stable when it is compared to RNA. Therefore, among the two nucleic acids, RNA and DNA is a better genetic material. In fact, the presence of thymine at the place of uracil also confers additional stability to DNA. We will study how it is possible in the upcoming classes. Next characteristic is both DNA and RNA are able to mutate. In fact, RNA being unstable mutate at a faster rate. Consequently, viruses have RNA genome and having shorter lifespan mutate and evolve faster. RNA can directly code for synthesis of protein, hence can easily express the characters. DNA, however, is dependent on RNA for synthesis of protein. The protein synthesizing machinery has evolved around RNA. The above discussion indicate that both RNA and DNA can function as genetic material, but DNA being more stable is preferred for storage of genetic information. For the transmission of genetic information, RNA is better. Let us discuss about RNA world. From foregoing discussion, an immediate question becomes evident, which is the first genetic material. It shall be discussed in detail in the chapter on chemical evolution. But briefly, we shall highlight some of the facts and points. RNA was the first genetic material. There is now enough evidence to suggest that essential life processes evolved around RNA. RNA used to act as genetic material as well as a catalyst. As there are some important biochemical reactions in living system that are catalyzed by RNA catalyst and not by protein enzymes. But RNA being a catalyst was reactive and hence unstable. Therefore, DNA has evolved from RNA with chemical modification that make it more stable. DNA being double stranded and having complementary strand further resist changes by evolving a process of repair. Hence, it is clear that DNA evolved from RNA. Replication. While proposing the double helical structure of DNA, Watson and Crick had immediately proposed a scheme for replication of DNA. To quote their original statement, that is, as follows: it has not escaped our notice that the specific pairing we have postulated immediately suggests a possible copying mechanism for the genetic material. It was said by Watson and Crick in 1953. The scheme suggested that the two strands would separate and act as a template for synthesis of new complementary strands. After the completion of replication, each DNA molecule would have one parental and one newly synthesized strand. This scheme was termed as semi-conservative DNA replication. Here in the next figure we can see how it is. The DNA is their original DNA, the two strands are uncoiled and the newly strands are formed on the two strands of the DNA. So the new two strands coil up with the old two strands and forms the two DNA molecules. So this is known as semi-conservative mode of DNA, in which the new DNA consists one new and one old strand. The experimental proof. It is now proven that DNA replicates semi-conservatively. It was shown first in the Escherichia coli and subsequent in a higher organism such as plants and human cells. Matthew Messelson and Franklin Stahl performed the following experiment in 1958. They grew E. coli in a medium containing N15, a heavy isotope of nitrogen, as the only nitrogen source for many generations. The result was that N15 was incorporated into the newly synthesized DNA as well as the other nitrogen containing compounds. This heavy DNA molecule could be distinguished from the normal DNA by centrifugation in a cesium chloride density gradient. Here, the point to remember is N15 is not radioactive, it is a heavy isotope. So, we will find out not by radioactivity but by density, on the basis of density. So, N14 and N15 are separated on the basis of densities. Then, Messelson and Stahl transferred the cells to the medium with normal N14 nitrogen sources and took the samples at the various definite time intervals as the cells multiplied and extracted the DNA that remained as double stranded helix. The various samples were separated independently on the CSCL gradients to measure the density of the figure. The results are shown here. Before we see the results, we must know that centrifugal force act more according to the density of the molecule. So N15 will be found at the lower band and N14 at the higher band on the basis of the densities. So let us see the results. First centrifugal cesium chloride gradient showed only heavy band. After 20 minutes, when it was grown on the normal, we got a band slightly upper than the heavy band. And after 40 minutes, we found the two bands, light band and hybrid band, but not the heavy band because we haven't provided N15 again in the growing medium. Thus, the DNA that was extracted from the culture one generation after the transfer of N15 to N14, we get an hybrid band on the intermediate density. DNA extracted from the culture after another two generations actually, it was the two bands obtained, one the hybrid band and the another light band. If E. coli was allowed to grow for 80 minutes, then we got the proportion of light band more than the hybrid band. Very similar experiments involving use of radioactive thymidine to detect distribution of newly synthesized DNA in the chromosome was performed on Vicia faba beans by Taylor and colleagues in 1958. These experiments proved that the DNA in chromosomes also replicate semi-conservatively, so in bacteria as well as in plants. The study proved that the replication of the DNA is semi-conservative. That is, the next generation consists of one new and one old strand of DNA. Let us see the experiment again. The bacteria was grown on the medium containing the heavy isotope of the nitrogen N15, so that the newly synthesized bacteria will have the old strand of N14 and new strand of N15. The bacteria were allowed to divide. After that, these bacteria were transferred to the medium containing N14, the normal nitrogen, and then again they were allowed to divide. As a result, the newly synthesized bacteria consist of N14 as their new strain. They were transferred to the cesium chloride gradient and then centrifuged in order to separate them. The results of the centrifuge showed that the very first tube consists of a band containing only N14, that were the original bacteria. After some time, the band we obtained the newly synthesized genetic materials, the heavy N15 band. After some time, the first generation, we got an intermediate band because it was grown on the N14. In the F2 generation, we found the two bands, one the intermediate band and the another light band, because the light band were formed due to the accumulation of N14 from the medium, and we got the new bacteria having N14 as their genetic material. When the experiment continued for the next two generations, the amount of the density gradient of the N14 increased. For the remaining topics, we will continue in the next lecture.